Kim has been hired by Sally to conduct an internal penetration test of her company's network. He has just plugged his Kali Linux laptop into Sally's network. Right now, he doesn't know anything about it. How many machines are there? Which ones are running? Which ones are worth poking at? Before Kim can do anything else, he needs an overview. The very first thing Kim does is check what IP address Sally's network just handed his machine. He opens a terminal and runs IPA, short for IP address, which lists every network interface on the system and the IP assigned to each one. There it is. Kim's laptop has been assigned 192.168.122.71, and the /24 tells him the network covers everything from 192.168.122.0 to 192.168.122.255. That's 254 possible host addresses. Now Kim knows the boundaries of the territory. To actively discover which of those 254 addresses are actually alive, Kim uses nmap, a powerful network scanning and security auditing tool. nmap has many options for detecting live machines. The most commonly cited is ICMP echo requests, the same mechanism behind the ping command. But as we'll see later, nmap quietly uses something even faster on a local network. The command Kim uses is sudo nmap 192.168.122.0/24-sn-n-oatnet pipe grep4 pipe cut-d quote space quote -f5. Let's take a closer look at this command. The first part is the target network range Kim just discovered. -sn disables port scanning. Kim just wants to know who's there, not what services they're running. -n disables DNS resolution. Doing so produces faster, cleaner output and doesn't tip off Sally's DNS server about what Kim is probing. -oatnet saves the results in all formats, prefixed tnet. This means nmap will create three files called tnet.gnmap, tnet.nmap, and tnet.xml, each containing the same scan results in different formats for different uses. tnet is just a name Kim picked. It could be anything else. For example, SallyNet, Scan1, or Monday Morning. Real pen testers usually name their output files after the client or the engagement, so scan files from different jobs don't get mixed up later. We're just using tnet for this video. The last part is not nmap. That's a Linux shell trick Kim is using to clean up the output. Without it, nmap prints a lot of information for every host, things like MAC address and so on. Kim doesn't care about most of that right now. He just wants a clean list of IP addresses. So he pipes the output through two filters. grep4 keeps only the lines containing the word for, which happens to match every line that starts with nmap scan report for. cut-d quote space quote -f5 takes each of those lines and pulls out the fifth space-separated field, which is the IP address itself. Put together, the pipeline takes nmap's noisy output and reduces it to one IP per line, exactly the format Kim wants. This is the kind of small Linux fluency that separates a beginner running tools from a pen tester who can chain them. Now Kim presses enter. And here's the results. 7 live hosts. Out of a possible 254 addresses on the network, only 7 responded. Kim now has a list of machines to actually investigate. A quick professional habit worth mentioning. Kim saved the scan with OATnet for a reason. Pen testers store every scan they run. During a real engagement, Kim might run dozens of scans, often comparing results from different tools at different times. Stored output gives him something to compare, something to document, and something to include in his final report to Sally. Different tools produce different results. Being able to show which tool gave which result is part of what makes the report credible. So let me show you something else. In a real engagement, Kim doesn't always have to discover the network himself. Sometimes Sally hands him a list of specific machines she wants tested. For example, the production servers, the developer workstations, the printers nobody's audited since 2019. It's not uncommon for clients to scope a penetration test this way, telling the tester exactly which hosts are in scope and which are off limits. nmap can read those targets from a file instead of making Kim type them out manually. Let's say Sally has emailed Kim a file called hosts.list with the 7 addresses they agreed on. Kim takes a quick look at it first with the cat command. 7 IPs, 1 per line. That's all nmap needs. Now Kim runs the same ICMP scan as before, but instead of giving nmap a network range, he points it at a file. The new option here is -i lhosts.list. It reads target list from the hosts.list file. Kim presses enter. And here's where it gets interesting. Only 3 of the 7 hosts responded. The other 4 are silent. That doesn't necessarily mean they're offline. ICMP echo requests only work if the target's firewall actually responds to pings. The 3 silent machines might just be ignoring Kim's probes because they've been configured to drop ICMP traffic. This is one of the most important lessons in network scanning. A host not responding to ping does not mean it's down. It might be very much up, running critical services, just refusing to confirm its own existence. Hardened systems do this on purpose, and the more security-conscious Sally's company is, the more silent hosts Kim should expect to see. Let's move to something else. Sometimes Kim doesn't need to scan a whole list or a whole network. Maybe Sally only wants 3 specific servers tested today. Maybe Kim has a suspicion about a handful of machines and wants to focus there before going wider. Nmap lets him pass IPs directly on the command line. Here, for example, Kim will test the IPs ending with 35, 40, and 139. He presses enter. 3 IPs, 3 results. Clean and explicit. If the IPs Kim wants are sequential, that means next to each other in the address space, he can use a shorthand range instead of typing each one. This here means every IP from .35 to .100. This is the same as listing them out one by one, but shorter to type. It is useful when testing a contiguous block of servers. Now let's say Kim wants to zoom in on one machine. For example, 192.168.122.35. Before he starts probing it for open ports and services, he wants to confirm it's actually alive and reachable from his position on the network. He uses the same host discovery scan as before, but pointed at just one target. And there is the result. The host is up. Kim now knows he has a target to work with. But here's where things get interesting, and where most beginners miss something important. When Kim ran nmap-sn, he assumed nmap was sending ICMP echo requests, that means pings. But on a local network, nmap is actually doing something different. Let's check that. Kim adds 2 options to his command, -pe and packet trace. The packet trace option makes nmap print every single packet it sends and receives. And -pe explicitly tells nmap to use ICMP echo requests as the discovery method. In other words, Kim is saying, don't pick whatever discovery method you want. I'm asking you specifically to send pings. Look at what nmap actually sent. It wasn't an ICMP echo request, it was an ARP request. Kim asked for ICMP, but nmap quietly used ARP instead. So what is ARP, and why did nmap override Kim's request? ARP, short for Address Resolution Protocol, is how machines on the same local network find each other's hardware addresses. Every device on a local network has 2 identifiers, an IP address, like a street address, and a MAC address, like a personal name. ARP is the protocol that maps one to the other. When Kim asks nmap to scan a host on his local network, nmap uses ARP first, because it's faster and more reliable than ICMP on a LAN. ARP is built into the network layer itself, so machines almost always respond to it. ICMP, on the other hand, is often filtered or blocked by firewalls. The target replied with its MAC address. That's the ARP reply. And nmap concluded the host was up. Kim never sent a ping. The target never got a chance to ignore one. We can confirm this with the reason flag too. It shows why nmap concluded a host was alive. And there it is in plain text. Host is up, received ARP response. Not received ping reply. Not received ICMP echo. nmap reached its conclusion based on the ARP exchange. If Kim genuinely wants to test ICMP behavior, maybe he's trying to figure out whether Sally's firewalls drop pings, he needs to disable the ARP shortcut. The flag for that is disable ARP ping. And there it is. Now Kim is sending real ICMP echo requests. The target replied with an ICMP echo reply. This is what a real ping scan looks like. This is a detail beginners almost always miss, and it shapes everything downstream. If Kim is scanning hosts on his local network, same subnet, no router in between, nmap is using ARP, and host is up means the target answered ARP. ARP is hard to silence on most machines, so a host on Kim's local network will almost always appear alive even if its firewall is dropping every other packet. But the moment Kim scans across a router, say into a separate subnet on Sally's network, ARP won't work anymore. ARP is a local network-only protocol. At that point, nmap actually does fall back to ICMP, and now the firewall configuration of the target matters again. The lesson? The way nmap decides if a host is alive depends on where the host lives. On the same local network, nmap typically uses ARP requests. This is the most reliable method on a local subnet. It does not depend on ICMP at all here. Even if ICMP is blocked, ARP still works. On a remote networks, which means different subnet or on the internet, nmap uses a combination of probes. By default, it may try ICMP echo request, that is ping. It may also try TCP SYN to common ports, like 80 or 443. Pen testers who don't know this subtle difference get confused when their local scans show everything alive and their remote scans show nothing alive. It's not the firewalls being inconsistent. It's nmap quietly switching strategies. In the next video, we'll look at what Kim does once he has a confirmed live host. How he goes from this machine exists to this machine is running these specific services on these specific ports in these specific versions. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next episode. See you there. Bye-bye.